Hope you're doing well. So when I do pinstriping, I like to not say a whole bunch. Because you have to focus a fair bit. Obviously, I'm not wanting it to be perfect like it would appear on a car or something. But just good enough. Oh, it's a feather. Caught in there. So I figured jumping straight back in. And getting the job done. That's the most important part here. Again, I say to anyone who's wondering who I'm drawing tonight, as is with pretty much all of these, they aren't famous, they are not actors or musicians or celebrities of any note or anything like that. Thank you for the subscription. I appreciate that. This person is just somebody who works a normal job. I'm sure they're lovely, probably have some special gift or talent that may not necessarily be conducive to a career in the arts in the same way like a movie star or a singer. might have that. It's interesting as well, like I was at a convention over the weekend, um, just on the Saturday, and it was the first convention of the year for me. It's actually a few posts on my community page about it, and yeah, it was lots of fun. I get invited back every year just to bring a bit of amazing to the proceedings. And the local news showed up and did a promo for it, which was very cool. So I appeared on TV, which I think is definitely a highlight for May. I mean, May's been pretty amazing, like hands down. May 2026, probably the best May I've ever had. Or as NSYNC famously says, it's got to be May. Don't worry, I am actually a dad, so I'm allowed to say dad jokes. Hey there, Saksham. Yes, Jaden. Oh, and I am going to draw the whole thing. So what I did with this one was I drew this character first on the iPad, and now I'm transferring it by hand onto a piece of heavy paper. Just checking. Also, a shout out to everyone watching on the other platforms. You guys are also amazing and very welcome. Because, as I like to say, when it comes to my live streams, of all the entertainment options and other endless distractions that the internet has to offer, you guys, you chose to stay with me, and that means a lot. And I thank you for that. definitely been an amazing month. I mean, a lot has happened this year, just in general. And I think, things just keep improving sort of exponentially. It's interesting how this year's gone. Like, I think now that we're kind of, sorry, just give me just a minute. Just gotta check on something real quick. Be right back, guys. So I was at the gym last night, and I've definitely gotten back into working out on a more regular basis. You ever do that? You ever just sort of forget about your gym membership to such a degree that you end up reverting back to normal? And then you start getting fat again, and you're like, what the heck? Why am I running out of energy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Why do I need to nap? Why is my back hurting? Why do my knees creak? And then you realize that in order to maintain like that level of consistently healthy, you have to go to the gym pretty much forever. Which I'm not opposed to. I think that's an excellent, way to be. But just being able to keep your body at like maintenance level, you essentially have to, at a minimum, 2 times a week for the rest of your life, as long as you're able to move. Otherwise, the downhill trajectory of your health becomes like a roller coaster drop. And the thing is, I'm kind of here for it. Not the roller coaster drop, obviously, because I've experienced that firsthand. But I mean, making sure that I don't go quietly into that sad, saggy night. Because that's the interesting thing. Like when you're in your 20s, everyone's kind of on a similar level. But, once you're in your 30s and 40s, like who's taking care of themselves and who clearly hasn't becomes sort of really, really evident. Just one of those unavoidable realities. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Feel free to jump in and spam hello in the chat if you're so inclined. Every little bit helps. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, don't be too worried if you don't know who this person is, because technically, you don't have to, because she's just a person that works in like an office. She's not like a celebrity or anything like that. In fact, interesting fact about being a caricaturist, quite often when I get commissions online, so I get a lot of people who will, contact me via email and say, "Oh, can you draw such and such for their birthday?" Or, "I want this sort of one of a kind gift for my wife," or whatever. "I want to celebrate this person's 20 years working at this one company, and we don't want to get him like a typical, like, normal gift. We want to get him something that he'll actually cherish and remember." And that's the cool thing about caricatures, is because they are, like, by their very definition, unique gifts. And yeah, these are an example of such a thing. I've been drawing caricatures for 22 years. And I absolutely love it. I mean, it's just a cool job anyway, because there's like that relaxing element of drawing, because drawing is, usually a pretty chilled out pastime. But when you can do it and it just sort of like, you show what you can do and people laugh, or, they go, "Oh," that's always a plus. And being able to share your gifts in general, I think one of the most amazing things about being alive. At least in my opinion. Now, ironically enough, like, although I've never met this person in real life, she kind of reminds me of a girl I used to go to high school with. Very strong jaw. And like, she was kind of like, I mean, she was pretty, but she was also a little bit odd looking. But I have very fond memories of, some of the people I went to high school with. And I was always able to draw their faces in my mind. In many respects, I mean, I don't miss high school for obvious reasons. It's, you know, when you're bored and broke and you got nowhere to go, high school's like Heartbreak Hotel. And they're just endlessly showing you seminars or something to that effect. Just getting the fine detail in. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate the follow. So I usually don't have music playing on the background when I'm doing a stream. I actually learnt the hard way that it's just easier to not have any music whatsoever. I mean, some streams do, and I'm just like, look, if that works, that works. But me, I'm still very much in the building phase of getting this up and running, so don't want to jinx it. Absolutely don't want to jinx it. Oh, that's no good. When did that happen? That's just random. Oh no. That's pretty rough. Yeah, that's never a great way to start a meal. You know, you're just sitting down, you know, gearing up for dinner with the family, and next thing you know, the server's ripping one. Hopefully, it didn't spoil your appetite. Like, that would just be absolutely devastating. You know, you work up, been out working or studying or doing what you need to do, and come home for a nice hot home cooked meal, and then someone decides to add some ambiance and fragrance. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm trying to keep this one to a very neat and tidy 1 hour. If I can. Sometimes I go a little longer, depending on level of detail. With the episodes of Sketch Jam, where I do sort of more of a free-flowing, like digital style, where anyone watching the stream can offer suggestions, and I can try to incorporate those into the finished product. It's like a collaborative effort where you get all people like offering helpful suggestions, and imaginative things to draw. I don't actually do those with these ones. These ones are actually paid commissions. Oh wow. Yeah, I got a message yesterday saying that the view counts and the data from YouTube were not coming through on the Studio app, and yeah, they got that up and running pretty quick. But yeah, I was just hitting refresh, wondering why things weren't coming through, and I thought, oh, it's the first time I've actually posted a long form video to my channel in months at this point, and I just thought, well, maybe the algorithm didn't see it, or maybe that just wasn't being put out there. But it turns out that yeah, just these sort of glitches kind of happen along the way. Nothing to get upset about. I'm looking to expand out the live streams to get the sculpture stuff that I've been working on incorporated. That'll be down the track. Sorry, just fine detail. Focusing in on that a bit more. So yeah, so it was cool getting an interview with the news reporter. It's fascinating because you get this idea that being part of a news promo is going to be way more amazing and like a star, you'd be more starstruck, but you're kind of not. It's strange, when you meet and you when you walk past a filming of a news report, or when you meet a news reporter in real life, somebody that is on television pretty much every night. You know, you see them all the time. You're used to looking at them, and you know, when you see them in real life, not only are they on in general shorter than you expected, they're nowhere near as like, you know, like imposing, I guess. It's weird, like I've met and run into and just seen wandering around like famous people. And it's weird when you see them because you kind of go, oh, it's that person. And I'm never affected by it. I was at LAX, and this is years ago, and I remember seeing pro wrestler Kurt Angle, or maybe it was at San Francisco Airport. I think one of those, yeah. Anyway, and we were just sort of hanging out, waiting for our plane, our connecting flight and stuff to go home to Australia because we've been spending some time in the States and everything. And yeah, he's just sitting there quietly eating his lunch. And you know, when you have that sort of moment where you just think, I may never see this human being again, but I also want to respect his space. That's the kind of like, I just thought, oh wow, that's an actual famous person. That's somebody I grew up with. That's someone I admire and am, genuinely fascinated by. But at the same time, I'm just thinking that sandwich looks really nice. I don't want to bother him while he's chewing because I remember, um, back when I was, spending time, my first time in the US. This is going back, yeah, at least a decade now. Um, and I was completely unfamiliar with how things were done over there because, up until then, my entire world had consisted of different Australian states and going to various capitals in them, and being pretty much surrounded by Aussies, talking to Aussies, interacting with Aussies everywhere I went, and just going to America. I was not prepared for how seriously they take tipping, and how like emotional some of them can get. Like I was just blown away. But um, yeah, tipping is a whole thing over there. But in Australia, I mean, we do tip, but it's kind of like it's very optional. It's very like no one goes really out of their way that much to tip. You occasionally get that though, like they'll say, "Oh, job well done. I'm gonna get you something cool. Just stay right here, and I'll come back with something amazing, like an extra 10 or sometimes even $50." And I'm like, I am, well, okay, thank you. All I did was draw a funny picture, but apparently, yeah, that was deserving of a gratuity, which I'm very humbled by and very grateful for. And I've seen other celebrities like, hey, Cat's Nightmare, how's it going? Good to see you. Um, I remember, and this is going back. This is going back like a while now, but John Travolta came to visit, and Lady Gaga, Russell Crowe, Pink, Angelina Jolie, a whole bunch of different people. Because that's the great thing about living in Sydney. It's because it's such a postcard town. Like it really is. Like the amount of times I've traveled in oh, thank you very much. I mean, the amount of times I've just traveled from where I live into the CBD and just sort of wandered around and looked at how like impressive the architecture in Sydney can get. Like the Opera House is so iconic. The Harbour Bridge is just gorgeous to look at, you know, both from a distance and when you're actually traveling on it. The thing is, being from Sydney is very different to like, moving to Sydney from a foreign country or visiting. Because when you live here, it very quickly becomes not a tourist destination, it just becomes home. And you don't really go out that much because you got work and stuff. And you got like responsibilities and bills to pay and all that fun stuff. So it's easy to forget just how like amazing most of the rest of the world regards the city that you live in. I'm pretty sure that people from Paris feel the same way. And it's like, oh, the Eiffel Tower, yeah, that thing's been here for donkey's years at this point. And I do get the impression that like the Eiffel Tower was and still is meant to be temporary, but because it's so cool, like the people involved with originally putting it up, are now long dead. But because it's such a part of, the architecture of that area, it's just now a thing forever. And seriously, I look at pictures of the Eiffel Tower, just like taken by just regular people. It'll appear in the background, not lit up, just during the day. It's just, and it looks like something that really should be like deconstructed and, put back into storage. But at the same time, like, I also get it that it should be like there forever. And that's sort of a difficult thing to sort of come to grips with. It's like, what is the cultural identity of the place that you're from? Because often it is just the buildings. It is just, various landmarks and, maybe the unique geography. It kind of makes me wonder about what's the next thing that's going to be built in Sydney that's going to make it even more iconic looking. because we've got a few new-ish buildings. We've got the Crown Casino and Barangaroo looks amazing and everything like that. And there's been a lot of tweaks and updates. A city is never completed. It's never fully built. There's always stuff being torn down, remodeled. Stuff that's being restored to its original glory, things that are protected by heritage, and just general wear and tear, and even like things like fires and stuff. It's all contributing to like this sort of constant state of building and entropy that all places experience to some degree. Okay, maybe I'm rambling a little bit. Maybe I'm just getting a little bit too lost in the sauce, but you know what I mean. Like, is it the stuff, or is it the people, or is it a combination of both? Because the people, they'll travel, they'll come and go, they'll be born, they'll pass away, they'll, live lives of quiet desperation and then never be seen or heard from again. And that's what I think about, whenever you see sort of like, graffiti or, a name carved in a tree or just little artifacts from anyone who might have been considered a vandal back in the day. And now it's like the only real evidence that a person was ever actually there. Like I saw these, old rock carvings, out in the bush, apparently thousands of years old, and they're just sort of, some guy with a stone tool just went up to the side of a cliff and, just drew a couple of numbats, on a couple of like rocks in the outback. And for those who don't know, a numbat is an Australian marsupial that's essentially our version of the anteater, which is one of many. Like most people think echidna when they think of anteaters in Australia, but the numbat is also very much an anteater. Like think of like sort of a cross between a squirrel and a cat with like stripes down its back, like a Tasmanian tiger, but it only eats termites and it's actually active during the day. That's the numbat. But yeah, like these, old rock carvings, they're the only evidence that people were actually there. Pre-colonial Stone Age stuff. And there's something like beautiful and a little bit tragic about the whole thing. Because I look at all the stuff that is like, just uploaded to various platforms and stuff, and so much of it is digital. So much of it is just, the only record of it ever having happened exists as like pixels. You know, it's stored somewhere on a server. It's not even on like a physical like hard drive anymore. It's that's a lot of faith to put in, you know, cloud storage. Because I think of, you know, the stuff that was carved in stone, and really, that's the only stuff that ever survives. Like those pictures of numbats could be, you know, thousands of years old, and they'll still be around, you know, pretty much as they are for thousands more years if they, you know, remain largely undisturbed and obviously nothing happens to them. I mean, Australia is also a country with relatively low risk of earthquakes. So that stone art is usually pretty safe. Like, it's also interesting that like not a lot of new stone art, at least not that I know of, is made. Because so much of our creativity is digitized. And that's fine, like, you know, so long as the servers stay on, everything's hunky dory. But I think, you know, getting rid of physical copies of stuff, not generally the best idea. Don't be in quite such a mad rush to throw like, you know, all your USB drives and whatnot away quite so willy-nilly and cavalier. Which, when I think about it, that would be a great name for like a early 70s progressive rock folk band. Ah, you're now listening to the dulcet tones of willy-nilly and cavalier. With their version of Summer Breeze. Yeah, that was a pretty good session, I reckon. I'd like to thank everybody who showed up and supported and joined me for however long. It means a lot. So as we invariably come to the tail end of this live stream, I would like to extend a very heartfelt thank you to everyone who dropped a like, showed up, joined, subscribed, or just quietly lurked in the background and had me on while they were taking care of their various duties in life. Don't worry, I get it. Once I sign out from here, I've got a bunch of prep work to do, making meals for tomorrow, setting things up. All that adulting that I swore was going to be fun, and now it's abundantly clear that Mary Poppins may have been onto something with the if there's a job that must be done, there's an element of fun, which is, the power of positive thinking. I absolutely applaud that. But I like the Sherry Bobbins version as well. It's like, if there's a task you want to take becomes a piece of cake or something like that. Don't pout, don't sob, just do a half-assed job. I mean, that applies to pretty much everything that isn't my career, which is a shame, but, it's kind of you have 3 choices, but you can only really realistically pick 2. I mean, you can try for 3, you can pull out all the stops, but just being realistic about your expectations and what you can actually achieve is more important than what you have the good intentions for. So yeah, as we draw to tonight's conclusion, to my regular viewers, don't worry, I will be back with more fun iPad Sketch Jam collaborations. And to my new viewers, hey, how's it going? Anyway, guys, I am going to call it there for tonight. Thanks, one and all. And I will be back very soon with a follow-up for this one. So, yeah, I will see you when I see you.